You're listening to the Telltale Podcast. Don't forget to check me out on all social media, on Patreon, on Teespring, and on Etsy. All links can be found on my website, telltaleatheist.com, or in the podcast's description.
Hey, I'm Will, and I wanted to know if there's any evidence against the Shroud of Turin, because I think that it's probably the strongest argument for Christianity right now, and I'm always looking for the truth, so I want to know if you know of anything that proves it's wrong.
It's a good question. The Shroud of Turin, a lot of people don't know about this, but I found this article that I wanted to read about the Shroud of Turin. So this is on NBC News. The title is, "Forensic Research Once Again Suggests the Shroud of Turin is Fake." A lot of you guys don't know what the Shroud of Turin is, I imagine, but this article is going to get into it a little bit. The caller basically said it's probably the strongest argument for Christianity. There are stronger arguments than the Shroud of Turin. I don't think it's the strongest by any stretch. I don't really know a whole lot about good arguments in favor of Christianity. I don't think I've really heard any, but a lot of the time people seem to harp on the resurrection of Jesus as the best evidence. Personally, I have doubt that the guy even existed. There were historians in the area during that time, and they did not record anything about the events that the Bible reports on. I hesitate to say that there is any good evidence for Christianity. I'm sure there's probably something, but I haven't heard it. Anyways, the Shroud of Turin is not good evidence, I would say. Let's read the article and see what it says about it. Forensic scientists have once again concluded that the Shroud of Turin, supposedly the burial cloth Jesus was wrapped in after his crucifixion, was artificially created. The shroud, which is kept in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy, has long been a subject of controversy within the Catholic community. Believers say its stains are the blood of Jesus, while others have questioned whether the stains are even blood at all. The new research is in line with numerous previous studies that have concluded that the shroud is not authentic. Earlier carbon dating work has determined that it dates to 1260 to 1390. Jesus is generally believed to have died in the year 33, and a blue ribbon panel called the Turin Commission concluded in 1979 that stains on the garment are likely pigments, not blood, while textile experts and art historians have suggested that the materials and images are not from the right era. As early as 1390, about 35 years after the shroud first emerged in France, Pierre d'Arcis, the Catholic bishop in Troyes, wrote to Pope Clement VII that the shroud was a clever sleight of hand by someone falsely declaring this was the actual shroud in which Jesus was enfolded in the tomb to attract the multitude so that money might cunningly be wrung from them. So people at the time when the Shroud of Turin appeared had their doubts, basically, that this was legitimate in any way. They basically denied it outright at the time, and now we have the technology we need, i.e. carbon dating and other dating methods, to determine that it is not from when Jesus died. The artistry on the shroud and everything else on this piece of fabric does not date to the correct time period at all. All of the evidence that we have points to the idea that the Shroud of Turin was made up, basically, that it was a hoax at the time in the 12 to 1300s. Even if the Shroud of Turin did turn out to be real, and it really was this thing that Jesus died in, or the thing that Jesus was wrapped up in after he died, it doesn't mean that Jesus was a divine being. It doesn't mean that he performed miracles. It means that he was just a normal dude, and we happened to find this piece of cloth that he was wrapped up in when he died. That's what it means. So I don't look at the Shroud of Turin as evidence for Christianity. At best, I look at it as kind of a token of Christianity, just like a piece of history from it at best. In reality, I'm very hard-pressed to believe that it's real. But even if it were, does not mean that Jesus was Lord, basically.